Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Hello, Tony. Hello, everyone. We're going to start in just another minute or so. Let more people join. Welcome, Lisa. Give it one more minute before we start. Lisa, an LMS is the learning management system you're using, such as like Blackboard or D2L, Canvas, Moodle. Gotcha. Welcome, Pam and Russell. Ginger, I think we're good to start if you'd like to, if that's good with you. Welcome, Jason.
It is.
Okay. Guys, as we get started, please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. We want to make this as beneficial to you guys as possible. And again, make this relaxing conversational webinar. So let's just go ahead and get started. Again, the webinar is entitled Read Speaker, Making the Textbook Experience Come to Life. And so your speakers for today, you see us. I am Kathy Wood, the Education Partner Manager here at Read Speaker, and Ginger Dewey, our Educational Development Manager. You can read our professional experience on the screen, but a quick fun fact about me is that I'm an avid runner, simply because I like food, especially pancakes and M&Ms. And Ginger is so much into crafts that she might need a 12-step program to save her marriage. So again, let's get started. But first, we want to ask you a quick question. So if you could, we're going to put a poll up on the screen. And if you don't mind just answering real quickly, that way we can kind of garner a little bit of information from you guys as we start. And the question is on your screen, what are you hoping to learn from this webinar today? Okay, it looks like the majority of you are hoping to understand more about the tools that Read Speaker offers, as well as how Read Speaker works with Access Text. So luckily for all of you, we're going to answer all these questions. So I'm hoping that it becomes beneficial for all you guys. So let me go ahead and close that. And so again, our agenda quickly is who we are at Read Speaker, who benefits. We're going to talk about uploading the textbooks, sharing the textbooks, talk about accessibility tools, including our voices, and we'll end with some Q&A. And if we have the need from some of you guys that want to see some demos of some of the tools that we talk about, we have time built in for that. So who are we at ReadSpeaker? Well, we're a text-to-speech company, but not only that, we are a company that includes accessibility tools, and that kind of puts us above and beyond our competitors. We have over 20 years of experience, used over globally, over 1,500 institutions. We help everyone, not just a few, and we'll talk about that when we talk about universal design of learning. Not only that, but our products are very easy to implement. LMS compatibility. So, we had a question, about what is LMS, and some people don't use that terminology. So, learning management systems. We have a certified integration with all the major LMS systems, and are constantly working. And part of my job as the education partner manager is to work with all of these companies to constantly improve our product for the end user. So, no two students learn the same way. I think as educators, we all are aware of this, but some of you might not know the statistics in terms of disabilities. So when we look at these statistics on the screen, only 1 out of 20 students with a learning disability actually inform their college. Why is this? It could be different things. It could be cost. We know in the K through 12 market, there is testing that's provided by funding from the state, but that's not necessarily the experience in college. It may be that they just don't want to disclose that for personal reasons. But that is eye-opening when we think about the students that we are assisting and helping in an everyday environment. And again, over here on the left, 26 of people in the United States have some sort of disability. And again, the word disability, some people have a very tunnel visioned thought about what a disability is, but there can be many disabilities, whether it just be, and we'll talk about this later, screen fatigue when we're learning in the virtual environment. Ginger?
I was answering a question over there. One of the questions that we had pop up very quickly was about where the data comes from. And it does come from several places. One place is the CDC, one is the NCLD, and the other one is the World Data Bank. And we will send you the PowerPoint when we send you the link to the YouTube that has been captioned next week. I was a mathematician before joining ReadSpeaker. I taught math for about 38 years. And one of the things that resonates with me is taking these statistics, which, they are important, but until you put some hard numbers with them, it really doesn't resonate as to what it's saying. So let's take a campus that maybe has 5,000 students. And with 5,000 students, the 1 in 20 means approximately 1,000 students have some form of disability at that college. Now, 600 to 800 of those 1,000 do not identify that they have a disability. So we're only talking 200 to 400 that did identify. And this is where ReadSpeaker can really help out, because we are there to assist all students, not just those that have some form of disability. Kathy?
So when we talk about servicing all, not just a few, that encompasses the universal design of learning. And again, I'm not going to read the screen word for word, but it is based on scientific insights. And it's about equal opportunities for all students that work for everyone. And it's also about customizing to that individual need. And when you think about accessibility tools, one size doesn't fit all in terms of specific items. And so you want to have that student be able to customize specifically for them and what they're having a hard time with. And so universal design of learning is very important when we think about those students that might not identify as having a disability. So let's jump in and talk about UDL, Access Text, and ReadSpeaker. Because we are here to talk about how Access Text and ReadSpeaker work together. So we kind of just want to jump in and start about the Access Text. So Ginger?
Hang on, my space bar didn't work there. Sorry about that. All right. For those of you who have Access Text accounts, I imagine most of you do, you know that it is a very large clearinghouse of accessible textbooks. And what I found is that when you send in a request, you get a fulfillment email. And with the fulfillment email, Kathy, there you go. With your fulfillment email, you have to download that text immediately. And what we're going to talk about is once you have that book downloaded onto your computer, then you have to figure out how to get it to the student. So let's look at how we do that. Next slide, please. The first thing we're going to do is talk about how we upload the books to the library in TextAid.
Once I have my book downloaded, how do I go about uploading it to TextAid? First, let's start in TextAid. We need to create a folder for your books. Click on Library, and then click on Create Folder. Fill in the title for the folder. For this example, let's call it Textbooks. If you already have folders created, you can select where you want the new folder to reside. In our case, we are going to place it in the root folder. Click Create. Now that the folder is created, let's upload 2 books. The first book that we are going to upload is a U.S. history book, which is a PDF. From the library, click on Upload Document. Select the document language or voice you want to use for the book. This can be changed by the student when they access the file. Select the folder, and in our case it has the name, Textbooks. Drag the file into the drag and drop area or use the Select Document button. Click on Upload. Click Close. Now let's use the same process to upload the EPUB, Thomas Paine's Common Sense, The American Crisis. From the library, click on Upload Document, fill in the form, and click Upload. Click Close. We now see the 2 books in our library.
Okay, with that, we have now talked about, we got the book and the video showed us how to get the book up into TextAid. Now, TextAid is one of the ReadSpeaker products, and I'm going to pull in some questions that were coming up in the chat while we were at it. And the question was, can blind students use this? And the answer is yes, but you probably will use your screen reader more than ReadSpeaker, because ReadSpeaker is a web reader, as in we do not have the commands on the sides of the screen and the toolbars and all of that. Our toolbars are accessible by keystrokes and by either arrow, tab, shift commands to get to the different places. TextAid is a separate product from your web reader. So if you have Canvas already, web reader is a second product and you would need to talk to your account manager. Okay, we got the book. We got the book uploaded into TextAid. So how do we now get it over to the student? So let's watch this video and see how easy it is to share the books with your students.
How do I share a file or a book with a student? First, you must be a group owner, coordinator, or TextAid admin in order to share materials. Log into TextAid with an account that has one of these roles. Click on Library. Navigate to the file or book you want to share. The books are located in the folder named Textbooks. In our case, we want to share 2 books with the student named Awesome. We can share either the folder or the individual books. Let's share the individual books. We see a U.S. history book and Thomas Paine's Common Sense book. To the right of the book title, click on the arrow point. Click on Shared Document. If you would like to set dates on how long the student will have access to the file, then you can do so. This is helpful if the student rented the textbook. Click on the Users tab and start typing either the student's name or email address in the search field. A list of student names and email addresses will appear that meet the criteria. Click on your student's name, and then click on Save Settings. Repeat the process for the second book. If everything in a folder is going to be shared with the same student, then instead of sharing the information individually, you can share the folder. Let's look at the TextAid account for the student named Awesome. Notice when we navigate to the library, we don't see the materials that we shared. However, there is a blue dot on the tab, Shared with Me. Click on the tab. We now see the 2 textbooks that we shared. Notice that the student cannot reshare the books or other files in the Shared with Me area. This is a great way to share accessible textbooks or other files with your students.
Now, we've got the book up. We got it from from Access Text. Then we uploaded it into TextAid, and now we have shared it. I'd like to answer a couple of questions, Kathy, at this point. One of them is about JAWS and TextAid. Are they compatible? I have not tested this. However, one of our D2L consultants, I guess is the word. She works in the accessibility area at D2L. She has used the 2 together. I do not know how well it worked. She did not tell me, but she did do that at a conference. So I'm going off of that answer. There have been other questions. I'm trying to answer them. Please put all your questions over into the Q&A so that I can catch them all there, because with the chat, it's spinning faster than I can keep up. Kathy?
Thanks, Ginger. And so Ginger will try to answer some of those questions while we watch this next video. So as Ginger mentioned, we've shown you in terms of uploading and sharing. Now let's really dive into the text-to-speech part and how this kind of works with the books to make the content actually more engaging for your students. And this is a quick video just talking about how text-to-speech actually helps students with their studies in terms of making that content more engaging.
How can you use text-to-speech to make your studies more effective and enjoyable?
Here are just 5 ways to use ReadSpeaker's text-to-speech tools to make your studies more efficient, more fun, and improve your results.
1. Streaming lessons. Stream your lessons to hear an audio version, or download an MP3 file to listen offline. This allows you to multitask and do your reading wherever you are, even if you are on the bus or walking to classes, especially when you have a lot of content to get through.
2. Typing difficulty. Using the dictation tool, your speech is dictated and converted into text. Grammar and punctuation can then be edited.
3. Writing research papers. You can upload articles, make annotations, collect and organize highlights, review writing to check for clumsy sentences and mistakes.
4. Increasing vocabulary. Translation word lookup can be used to see and hear translations and definitions, improving your understanding and expanding your vocabulary.
5. Eliminate distractions. Using text mode to show content in a plain text form, or using page mask and the writing ruler.
Why not give it a try?
Okay. So we showed you in that video 5 different ways that the text-to-speech can help your students. So I've got another poll for you. And let me launch it. The question is, which study tools do you feel is most beneficial to your students? And again, we're thinking along the lines of some of those text-to-speech ones that you just saw. Answers are flying in. Very interesting. So it looks like it's kind of streaming, dictation, highlighting, and eliminating distractions are all very evenly rated right now. That's very interesting to see. Highlighting and annotating is just squeaking out a little bit further ahead than the others. That's very interesting. So we're going to show a little bit about those in just a few minutes. I do want to, did we have another question, Ginger, that we needed to address?
Kathy, we've had several.
Okay.
Some of the questions that are coming in are all based around the same thing. So I'm going to answer several of them with one statement here.
Okay.
The question is about books and how they are set up when they come in. Can you bring in just chapters? Do you have to bring in the whole book? If you bring it in as chapters, how is it divided? Okay, the answer to that is yes, you can do all of those. If you want to split the book up into various chapters and just upload those chapters, you can. If it's already in chapters and you want all the chapters, then you can bring in the whole book. When you look at the book in TextAid, if it has chapters listed, there's an indexing that gives the various chapters. The next question is, do you have to use an LMS to distribute the books? No, you can do this strictly through TextAid. And TextAid can be incorporated into an LMS, but it's also a standalone product that can be licensed for your campus as just a product, not within your LMS. Is ReadSpeaker compatible with Blackboard SAS and Ultra? Currently, we work with Blackboard Learn. TextAid, we are testing out with Ultra because, as you know, Ultra does not allow JavaScripts, and Blackboard SAS, which is sort of the combination, is also the Java run. So with that, I can say yes for Blackboard Learn, and we're working with Blackboard to get Blackboard Ultra. Kathy, your turn.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the accessibility tools that we have kind of hinted at. And again, if you want to see a deeper dive on these at the very end, if there's a demo that you want Ginger to show you on some of these tools, a deeper dive, we have more than enough time to do that. So let's talk about first ease of use. It's literally just clicking and listening. Settings are unique to the user and device, and that's very important for the students to feel empowered and have something that is customized to them. We are compatible with many of the proctoring software solutions, which is very important, especially in our hybrid and virtual learning environments. And again, we integrate with all the major LMSs. So our voices, it's actually an accessibility tool because you can change your voices, and we have over 90 voices available in over 30 languages. We are rated the most accurate on the market, and we are in a continually ongoing improvement process. So in terms of the voices, this video actually will show you how you can change your voices. And if you want to actually see a demo of the different voices that we have, it's actually an easy little click on our website that you could go and do different demonstrations with different voices. But let me go ahead and get this video started.
How do I change my reading language in TextAid? The reading language tool is located in the upper right-hand corner of TextAid. When you click on the tool, you will have a drop-down menu of the voices available to you. Remember, you must match your reading language to your document language so that the pronunciations and accents are correct. In our reading language tool, we see Sophie, American Spanish, Canadian French, French, and Spanish. You may have different voices or languages in your selection. Sophie is an American English voice.
And let me also add, when we talk about the voices and how it can be an accessibility tool, some students may just be able to feel more comfortable with a male voice or a female voice, or to break up the monotony of being online all day long. They may want to switch up have their science read to them in a British voice. It can just help the student in different ways when we think about those voices. Ginger, do I need to pause before we jump into the highlighting?
Okay, I'm going to answer several things at once. These are going into the questions again about the chapters. And first off, if the book is huge, and I have like a 700-800 page book, and it doesn't take very long for it to load. Okay, maybe a minute. I have a 100-page book and it loads extremely fast. I'm on satellite internet, so if it's loading that quickly for me, you can imagine if you have fiber or cable internet. Again, everything is being run off the cloud, so your internet connection is what's going to say, does it take a long time or does it take just a little bit of time? Now, yes, there is a master account for administrators. Can you see exactly what the students uploaded? No, you can't, but you can see how much they are using it. Now, the next question, is there a way to set up folders and subfolders? Yes, you can. What advantage does ReadSpeaker have over Read and Write? We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, and the same thing with.
You just went on mute, Ginger.
Wonder how I did that. Jeez. Anyhow, okay. For Read, Write, and for Kurzweil, we will be talking about those here in just a little bit, and breaking the files down into smaller files. That may be necessary if you have something like a nursing book, which is something like 2,000 pages. But for smaller books than that, 500 to 1,000 pages, you probably don't need to do that. And that's one of the differences. Okay, highlighting. Now, with highlighting, once we've gotten the book from Access Text, we've loaded the book in TextAid, we've shared it with the student. Now the student is going to start looking at the book and making their notes. The first thing we're going to talk about is highlighting. And I want to say a couple of things about highlighting before we start. Highlighting can be used in many different ways. It is an awesome tool for studying. Kathy, let's listen to the video.
Sure.
How do I highlight my textbook or file? Let's go to our library, and then the Shared With Me tab. Open your Thomas Paine book, which is an EPUB. When you are working with an EPUB, notice that you only have the highlighter as a choice on the left-hand toolbar. Click on the highlighter. As you are reading, if you find a fact that is important, then highlight it. For this example, let's use green for important and red for questions. You can either click on the color from the top toolbar, and then drag your mouse across the information. Or, you can click on the arrow point, and then select the material and color without having to go back to the top toolbar. However, if I am colorblind, I can't see the colors. We also have borders for the colors. Click on the hamburger icon on the highlighter toolbar. Click on Show Borders. Yellow is always an underline, blue is always dashes, green is always dots, and red is always a solid border. After making your notes, you need to collect and download them. Click on the hamburger icon. Click on Collect and Download Highlights. Let's collect the information from the whole text. Let's also select by position. Let's show all the colors and all the borders. Click on Collect. Now that we have the document downloaded into a text file, we need to save it. Click on Save. Give the file a name and select the location. Click Save Text. Notice we received a pop-up message indicating the file was saved, and that the tab is no longer listed as untitled, but now has our file name. If you add notes or change the title, you need to save the document again. To separate quotes from notes, we suggest using italics. Please note that highlights are saved in the cookies and cache of your browser. So, if you change devices or browsers, you will not see your highlights. This is why it is very important to save your highlights. You now have your notes ready for studying.
Okay, now we have the notes ready for studying. You've been able to help all your students, and one of the questions that came in was, is this just for students with disabilities? And the answer is no. I do not qualify as having a disability, but I like to listen to audiobooks. So this is a great way for all students to have access to these tools. Now, another way that we can take notes is by annotating. This next video is going to show you a few things you can do with annotating, but not all.
How do I annotate a book or document? Annotations are available for some types of files, like DOCX and PDF. Our U.S. history book is a PDF, so let's look at it. Navigate to the Shared with Me tab in your library, and then click on your history book. Notice that we can use the highlighter like we did in the EPUB, or we can annotate the book. Click on Annotations. If we want to add a comment, we can use either a text box or a sticky note. First, click on the T in the palette of tools, and then click on a page in your book. Type in your comment in the text box. For the sticky note, click on the notepad icon. Let's change the color to green, and then type in a note. We can draw circles, change ink colors, draw or write. To name a few annotations, annotations are automatically saved on your document in your TextAid account. After annotating the text, you will want to return to the pages to read the annotations. How do
Ginger, do you want to answer a few more questions before we jump into the last question?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And some of the questions that have come up are, how do we work with Respondus Lockdown Browser in Blackboard, Learn, Canvas, Moodle, Open LMS, and D2L or Brightspace? We work well with them. We are integrated directly with them. So to answer that question, yes, we do. And can it read a PDF with sidebars and text boxes? If you highlight that area, yes, it can read those. Is it necessary to upload the book from Access Text to TextAid rather than just emailing the book to the student? That's your choice. You can do either one. A lot of times emailing the book to the student, it's a larger file than what the student's email can handle. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. So this lets you put it up there. The other thing it lets you do is share it to multiple students at one time. If you have 6 students that are all using the same textbook, you can set up a group that gets that textbook and share it all at one time. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's go back to the presentation.
Okay. So here's your third and final polling question that I've got. And it's, how much time would you estimate that your students actually spend on proofreading papers? I mean, if you were to ask me about my 15 and 18-year-old, it would not be a nice number. Okay, it looks like the majority of you are saying 1 to 15 minutes with the 16 to 30 close behind, which is probably what I would agree with the students, today. So when we think about that, we think about ways that we can help the students with proof listing and dictation. Ginger?
Yes, and with proofreading and dictation, I know personally when I write something, I leave out words. I am very good at leaving out a, and the word by, by. I don't know why my fingers just don't type those words. And if I'm not paying attention before I hit send on an email or turn in a report, it would sound terrible. So what I do is I proof listen to the information that I'm going to send in the email, put in a discussion, have as part of a report, and I catch those clumsy sentences, those sentences that are missing words or have an unintentional word in it. On the screen, you see, this is demo form Ginger. She is not traveling today. Well, with the spell check, like most of you guys were saying, no more than about 15 minutes, then this would be perfect for it because all they would catch is the word traveling. And they would correct that and go right on because they were reading, this is a demo from Ginger. She is not traveling today. That's what their mind is saying because that's what they thought they wrote. But as you can see, the word form should be from, and we left out the word a and the word is. So we corrected that. We can correct it in the TextAid database, or we can correct it in Google Docs or Word Online. Now, with that, when you're in Google Docs or in Word Online, you would use the extension. You can either read a highlighted part and make your corrections. You can listen to your whole document, or you can choose what you want to listen to. But the whole thing is, when you listen to it, you're going to catch those mistakes. What this does is this frees up the time that a tutor, an instructor, a professor, a teacher has for going over things that are wrong with the paper that the student needs to work on. Because until you get all of this other stuff cleaned up, you can't talk about structure. You can't talk about sentence fragments or left out commas. You can't talk about comma splices. You can't talk about semicolons. You can't talk about, I had 3 statements in my thesis and I had support for only 1, and my conclusion had 2 points. You need to get all of that worked out before you work on these big things. So by proof listening, you can do that. And we offer a dictation service. Now, the dictation service is a non-trainable mic. You click on start, you start talking, you can say punctuation, and it will put the punctuation in, hit insert text, and it goes over there. The question you always get is, what about how good is it? Well, it gets my Southern drawl, so I would say that's pretty good. It only catches me on 2 words. That's coal, C-O-A-L and C-O-L-D. And I've forgotten now what the other one was. I think it was something like enhance or enhance or something like that. And it messes up 1 word there. But basically, I've not found it having a problem with picking up my speech. The thing is to speak clearly. Don't slur your words. If you slur your words, then of course it's going to be hard to pick them up. Students maybe cannot type for some reason. They might have a cognitive disability. They might have a physical disability. They maybe never learned. They maybe have wonderful ideas, but when they start typing, it's tiring to them, so they don't get it all on the paper. They start editing out. I have oh wow, he's 28 now, a 28-year-old that if he had to type more than 3 sentences at a time, he's going to edit it all down into 1 sentence when he was in high school. So that gives you the idea, because he gets tired typing. He's not a great typist, so that's one of the things. So that being said, dictation isn't just for those that have a disability. It's for everyone. All of our tools are for everyone. Kathy? Oh, sorry. Another great thing about our products is you get to make it yours. And by making it yours, there's all kinds of personalizations you can do. You can change the font size, the color, the type font. You can change the voices. You can change the background color. You can change highlighter choices. You can change reading speed. These are unique to the individual user, their browser, their device. So in other words, if I'm on my laptop, I could have some settings in Chrome and different settings in Firefox and different ones in Safari. Or I could have another set that's just for my phone. So this is what we're talking about, customizing it to you, your device. These are held in the cookies and cache of your computer. So if you do clear those cookies and cache, then of course you would need to set it back up. Kathy?
Awesome. So again, we're talking about customizing, and we're talking about making it personal for you, and we're talking about accessibility tools for all, not just a few. So I want to finish up, talking about screen fatigue and burnout. And again, when I talked a little bit earlier, when we think about disability, sometimes we're very narrow focused on what we define as a disability. But screen fatigue and burnout can be a disability. You know, I know we're all so sick and tired of COVID. So I'm just going to say that the whole pandemic changed the way that a lot of our students started to have to learn. That included my kids at my house when we had to switch and pivot straight to a virtual learning environment and be on the computer all day long. I can tell you my 15-year-old complained all the time about how he was just burnt out of being on the screen all day. And so when we think about screen fatigue and burnout, we're thinking about students across the board. And when we think about that, we think about our tools, the changing the voices, the page mask, just, you know, the reading ruler, all of these things that, you know, the reading speed and large text, things that can help these students break up that monotony of learning online or in that hybrid environment. So again, tools for all, not just a few. So I know we've thrown a lot of information at you, and I know we've skimmed the surface of a lot of different things, but this is your opportunity right now. We have plenty of time. Are there things that you would like to see a little bit of deeper dive on? Do you have questions about some of the tools? Do you have questions about ReadSpeaker in general? This is your time that we get to answer anything and everything that we possibly can. And again, on the screen as well is all of our email addresses. And our readspeaker.com/education website that has a plethora of information, including everything from all the different LMSs and a learning library with videos and documents for your enjoyment. So Ginger, I'm going to pass it to you if you want to start answering some questions I see are popping up.
Okay, first off, there are two questions that I'm going to let Paul, who is also a panelist. We brought Paul in to help me keep up with the questions that I need a little assistance on. First off, I am not certain if it is a proprietary OCR engine that we use or if we are purchasing from someone else. Paul, if you know the answer to that, will you jump in and answer it? And how does it work with Accuplacer online testing? First off, we are trying to get the answer to that, but currently we have not been able to because we can't get access to an Accuplacer account to do the testing. We believe we have a product called SpeakUp that will work with it. And SpeakUp resides directly on the computer, and it works more like a screen reader because whatever you pass your mouse over the top of it, when you have click and read on, it reads. Now, let's see, more questions are coming in. Okay, another question that came up, and it came up, I believe, in chat instead of Q&A, was about the ability of TextAid outing the student when you shared a book to a group of students. No, it does not. On the coordinator or administrator or group owner, which would be the three that can do the sharing. One of the things about it is you as that coordinator or admin can see who you shared the book to. But when the student goes into TextAid, Kathy, will you stop sharing and let me share a screen here so I can show something? When the student goes into TextAid, you should be seeing my screen. Which screen are you seeing? Stop share. I don't think I chose the right one. I want desktop 3. Are you seeing my Sherlock Holmes book, Kathy? Okay.
Yes.
First
Sorry,
off, when I'm in the library, that's fine. Right now, I'm in as an administrator in TextAid, and when I go over to my library and I go to shared with me, anything that is shared with me is there. If I log into Firefox just to have another account up. I'm going to pull up a student account that I have shared some books with. And I apologize, with Zoom and so many LMSs open, it's kind of hard right this minute for the internet to keep up with me. When I go to my library as a student, and I'm in as awesome student now, I see a blue dot with shared with me, and you can see things have been shared. Notice it shows who is sharing it and how long it is there. It doesn't say who else is getting the book. Okay. It only shows who made the share to you and how long they are getting it. Now, another question that has come in is, let's see, wait a minute, I got to catch back up.
Ginger, we did have a question
One of the
about,
questions was, go ahead, Kathy.
we did have a question in terms of, what advantage does ReadSpeaker have over Read Write Gold? And somebody also had mentioned Kurzweil. So I didn't know if Paul, you wanted to answer, or Ginger, who wanted to take that question?
Let's let Paul take it. It's time for him to talk.
Thanks, Ginger and Kathy. I'll get you back for this. But that being said, I think what differentiates ReadSpeaker is our UDL principles and the ease of implementation within the LMSs. ReadSpeaker is the only company that offers certified LMS integrations. So we are guaranteed to work in those areas. Also, we continue to work with our LMS partners in advancing our integration. Hopefully our D2L clients have seen our great integration with reading quizzes inside D2L. And then also we continue to create new solutions. An example would be kind of our browser extension that is like an iframe reader that supports content not only in the LMS, but then also it. And then also probably in the next 2 months, we're going to be launching a new product, which is going to be a Chrome browser offline reader, which is pretty cool. It's going to address a lot of issues that students may have experienced in the last year, whether it's a lack of connectability or different aspects like that. So, so I think those are some of the differentiators. Traditionally, we're cheaper. Traditionally, also, we support more students, so you get more bang for your buck. And then finally, like I started with, and I'll end with it, our learning experience and listening to our content is significantly better because we provide you the best voices in the marketplace. We don't get voices from other people.
Okay, a few questions. Thank you, Paul. A few questions that are coming in chat, and I'm sorry if I miss your question. I'm trying to scroll back and make certain I haven't. Was about reading order with the text. Do you have to do zone reading? And with that, first off, we are talking about it being an accessible textbook. And to me, accessible textbooks mean that it's already correct in reading order and that it will read the columns correctly and not skip around on it. If it's doing that, to me, it's not an accessible textbook. So we are making that assumption that the book publisher has provided a true accessible textbook. When you say it integrates, is that on the student's computer or the instructor's Canvas? Both. Our web reader is available for both the student and the instructor. It is across the LMS, so it's there for anyone using that LMS. And it is also beyond web reader. Most of our LMSs have a doc reader, so it reads the documents, or we use TextAid extension to read those documents. The TextAid extension not only reads in the LMS, but it will read a Word document or a Google Doc, and with Word, I mean Word Online, or a Google Doc. Our extension can read those. It can OCR things that are on images. So if you've got that tiny print, it can do that. And OCRing does take a little bit of time.
Tuning pegs.
And I think I forgot to share sound. So
No,
let me stop the share. Nope, I did.
I got the sound, Ginger.
Okay. Okay. Now, not only that, but I can, if I'm reading this right here, and I'm going to read just this one sentence, if I can get my mouse to highlight it. Oh, lovely. My mouse is dying. There. This is not the time for a wireless mouse to die, right?
This is Word Online document that will guide how to lean the parts of the guitar.
Okay. When you heard that, you heard this is Word document. And it should be this is a Word document. And it said lean instead of learn. Spell check would not have caught that because it already knows that it's there. You can also read the outside web. So this is an article about Australia's new bubble tents. And here I am on the website for CNN. I can launch my extension. Come on, launch my extension. And my internet, I'm getting unstable internet here. So folks, bear with me. It's trying its best. This is so good to do in a live presentation. Kathy, you want to talk for a moment while I get this up and working?
Paul, Maria put an interesting comment in the chat, and I wondered if you might address it. She said, you mentioned the voices are unique, but I can tell you that I have devices with many of those same voices. Being blind, I have a unique perspective on this.
Well, I think it's, yeah, I believe that you have to think that if ReadSpeaker has over 10,000 clients globally, they're not just uniquely used in our educational products. They are used by, oh goodness gracious, many dyslexia tools, many AAC devices, accessibility features on popular exercising bikes. Many, because ReadSpeaker creates those voices, we also uniquely can provide them for Android devices, iOS devices. We're on many websites. Of course, we're here specifically talking just about ReadSpeaker for education, but that is just one section of our company's initiative of providing voice technology for the globe. So yes, you are right. You're probably utilizing the ReadSpeaker voices somewhere across of our many clients. And it could be, you know, in education, you have to think McGraw-Hill, Cengage, National Geographic, Houghton Mifflin. These are just a few of our clients that are whitelisting our product, or I should say rebranding our product and utilizing our voices. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I have finally gotten my internet back to where it's not saying unstable internet. So I have up the extension, and this again is the Australian bubble tents. And I'm just going to read a couple of sentences here.
Each of the 3 transparent, inflatable, airlock dome tents is named after a different constellation: Leo, Cancer, and Virgo.
Okay, I'll stop it there, but you can hear that it is there. You can always adjust your settings to what colors you want to use for the highlighting. You can change how fast you want it to read. You can slow it down if you're a second language learner, or speed it up if you're going into a profession that requires information to come at you fast, like medical or transcription or air traffic controller. You can change the language. Now, you have to be careful here. You want the reading language to match the language of the document. We're not talking transcription here. We're talking about accents and word pronunciation. So if you have a Spanish document, you don't want to put a French voice on it because it's not going to sound right. You want to put a Spanish voice on it, and so on down the line. When you are on those Word online documents and on the Google Docs, you can have it read to you as you type. And then, of course, we've shown you the snapshot, which OCR's information on tools. Did we
Ginger,
get
we
a demo
had-
product to try?
Ginger, we had a
Yes,
question.
you can.
Ginger, Holly had a question. When loading an EPUB, are the links preserved?
When loading an EPUB, the links as in links to outside websites, is that what the question is referring to?
She said links within the document.
Links within the document. I have not tested that, but since it comes as a full EPUB and we upload it as the full EPUB, it should preserve those links. Paul, do you know for a fact that it does, or if I am missing something?
I'm not aware in EPUB 1 or 2 if that is. I do believe in our EPUB 3 integration with the media overlay, that's different. However, in this case, we'd be looking at just EPUB 1 and 2. So for book navigation, I'm not too sure. We'd have to check that
Book
out.
navigation, I can answer that one. I thought you were talking about a link in a book that goes to an outside website. The book navigation links do work, as in moving from chapter to chapter. Yes, those work. Going back to the question that Sue had, she is concerned about knowing in advance if the PDF document that I received from the publisher is accessible. Many PDFs books have graphs that aren't in columns and stories with background color where the contrast becomes an issue. Okay, first off, with the color contrast, we have what's called text mode. And in text mode, let me flip over here. And when I put things in text mode, I have text settings where I can set up that contrast myself. And setting it up, I can have a background color of yellow and a text color of bright blue if I want that. I can make the font larger, change the type. I can control that. So if there's things that aren't correct, then you can move them into text mode and it would make them accessible. The other thing about reading the graphs, with the graphs, you can always use the extension with the OCR, the text snapshot tool, to read those parts that are not in the correct place on the graphs or things like that as it comes over. If they're not tagged correctly, you can OCR that to read that portion of the graph.
Okay, we are right at time, and we had a ton of good questions today. And let me just say again, Ginger, if I can share my screen one more time and put our email addresses back up in case anyone wants to continue the conversation, we definitely encourage you to email us. Any questions you might think of that came after listening to this presentation. And again, a recording of this will be sent to you as well as a PowerPoint slide. So you're more than welcome to listen to it again. But our information is up there. Paul is our director of business development. So if you have any pricing questions, or if you would like, you know, a more in-depth demo of the product, Ginger can, you know, we can schedule some office hours with Ginger. We want you to feel like you could be successful with our tools. And we want to show you how great your tools can be for all of your students. So please reach out to us with any questions. We really appreciate everyone joining us today. It was just a great time to get all this feedback and these questions answered. Just see more things come in chat. Just want to make sure. So again, thanks everyone, and please feel free to reach out to us. We'd like to get you started on our products.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ginger and Kathy. Great job.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.